Look at how modern life is structured. We don't transition anymore. We switch. We move from stimulated to exhausted, overloaded to collapsed, activated to numb. We scroll until blackout. We work until depletion. We stimulate until silence. We don't fall asleep. We shut off. And the nervous system doesn't learn intention. It learns outcomes. Whatever pattern repeats becomes the lesson. If stimulation repeatedly leads to rapid shutdown, the brain learns shutdown. But shutdown is not restoration. And that distinction changes everything. This episode is brought to you by my HarperCollins published book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. Learn how artificial stimulation miswires your brain and what you can do to rewire it back to purpose, intimacy, and connection. Go to drtrishleigh.com/book. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, neuroscientist. And today we're talking about a distinction that most people never realize is shaping their lives. We're going to talk about the difference between sedation and restoration because they feel similar. Both end the day, both quiet the mind, both lead to unconsciousness. But biologically, they are not the same thing. If you understand the difference, you understand sleep disruption, emotional flattening, arousal inconsistency, and you might even understand differently what's happening culturally right now. Let's dive in. Sedation feels like relief because it lowers arousal quickly. The body softens, the mind quiets. There's a sense of finally. But biologically, something very specific is happening. The nervous system bypasses regulation and it enters suppression. Suppression is not recovery. Recovery requires sequence. It requires gradual descent, deep restoration, neural recalibration, and REM integration. Sedation skips the sequence. It turns the lights off, but the maintenance crew never comes to work. I've seen this over and over in brain data. The brain becomes efficient at collapsing. It becomes very good at shutting down fast. But what it quietly loses is rhythmic restoration. Systems that depend on precise timing begin to drift, and the person wakes up technically asleep, but not restored. When people think about sleep, they imagine one continuous state, but sleep is actually a neurological sequence, and each stage has a distinct role. Light sleep stabilizes transitions. Deep sleep restores the body. REM sleep integrates the system. REM is where the night actually connects. It is where the brain coordinates systems that operated separately during the day. Emotional memory is processed. Stress signals are recalibrated. Learning is consolidated. Responsiveness is tuned. REM is not passive. It is precision work. During REM, neural networks that normally function independently begin communicating. Emotional centers, autonomic regulation systems, motivation circuits, arousal pathways. I often describe REM as the brain's overnight coordination meeting. It aligns timing across systems so that when you wake up, your responses are fluid and automatic rather than having to be forced or delayed. Integration is what makes responsiveness feel effortless. Most people don't realize REM doesn't happen simply because you are unconscious. It only unfolds when earlier stages occur in the correct order. Activation must gradually decrease. Deep restoration must stabilize. Neurochemistry must shift in sequence. Dopamine levels change. Autonomic balance reorganizes. Neural signaling recalibrates. REM is the result of correct sequencing. Now, if that sequence is interrupted, REM becomes fragmented, shorter, unstable, or mistimed. And when REM is unstable, integration does not complete. The night happens, but recalibration does not. Sedation bypasses the gradual descent. Instead of a regulated transition, the brain is pushed rapidly into suppression. You become unconscious, but the system never completed the preparation phase required for full REM coordination. REM may still occur, but it is disconnected, like a meeting where half the participants never arrived. Signals fire, processing begins, but coordination does not complete. When REM cannot fully coordinate systems, the brain wakes up with unresolved timing, and timing is what makes responsiveness automatic. Without recalibration, emotional response flattens or fluctuates. Motivation becomes unstable. Stress recovery slows. Responsiveness becomes conditional. Not because capacity disappeared, but because coordination failed. Sedation produces unconsciousness. REM produces integration. Only one restores responsiveness. Now, when we're talking about sedation, we're talking about screen time and specifically the consumption of explicit matter. When you use explicit content or screen time to fall asleep, it is called alpha intrusion. Your brain never catches the sleep cycle like it would if explicit matter wasn't interrupting the cycle. I've had patients tell me I can fall asleep instantly. I just don't feel fully online anymore. That statement alone tells you the difference between collapse and restoration. This is where the cultural piece becomes impossible to ignore. If REM is what reconnects humans to responsiveness, and modern behavior such as screen time and explicit matter repeatedly disrupts REM timing, then what we're seeing in society is not random change. It is collective miscalibration. People being miswired by the algorithm. Fight Club gave us the insomniac who cannot feel alive, not weak, but unregulated. Office Space showed functional people who are emotionally absent. Movement without engagement. Black Mirror portrays a world of infinite stimulation paired with declining human response. These are nervous system portraits, a civilization running stimulation without restoration. The nervous system destabilizes in sequence. Sleep is disrupted first, then energy regulation, then emotional range, then responsiveness. Responsiveness is one of the most timing-dependent functions in the human body. It relies on REM calibration, dopamine timing, autonomic flexibility, and neural coordination. When those drift, response becomes conditional. Not gone, but conditional. So, how does this affect you? It impacts you because now when it's time for you to work, you can't. Activation is suppressed. When it's time for you to feel calm and alert, it's not going to happen with ease. And especially when it's time for intimacy and connection with a partner that you want to be with, arousal does not come online. That's what I call SAD, sexual arousal dysfunction. Timing is everything. This is where many men begin noticing something deeply personal. The body can shut down easily, especially through explicit matter, but does not always come fully back online, the same way at least. That is not a character flaw. It is a timing disruption in the brain. When large numbers of people lose spontaneous responsiveness, you are not seeing isolated dysfunction. We now are seeing environmental mismatch. There is much too much stimulation from the screen and from explicit content. There is much too little restoration. Intensity without recovery disrupts the human biological cycle. We were not evolved for this. Modern culture delivers this interruption, and the interruption always produces suppression. It produces air in the brain, arousal, inhibition, response. So you can turn off, but you can't turn back on. This leads to SAD and to ED. Now, supernormal living is not about pushing harder. It is about restoring biological, neurobiological authority. The most powerful systems in the body, well, they're rhythmic, right? Heart rhythm, breath rhythm, sleep rhythm, brain neurological rhythm. Mastery is not intensity. Mastery, my friend, is timing. And when the rhythm stabilizes, effort decreases. When the rhythm fragments, effort multiplies without getting the response or the outcome that you want. Now, here's the truth of it. Restoration and recovery, well, they're quiet. Sleep feels complete. Your energy stabilizes. Maybe people don't notice, but you do. Your emotions become more accessible to you. And thankfully, your responsiveness, especially sexual responsiveness, returns automatically. It's not forced, and you don't have to monitor it anymore. It becomes automatic. That is biological alignment. And if the brain has practiced shutdown for years, well, shutdown became efficient. But here's the beauty of it. Patterns can change, but they change through feedback, not just intention alone. That's why I use neuroregulation modalities, technology. And the way that it works is it can show your brain what regulation looks like in real time. That way you can improve the timing and stabilize the brain performance pattern and allow your systems to coordinate again. Then your entire system remembers how to perform automatically by itself again. Modern culture is training sedation through screens and explicit content. Supernormal living trains your brain for restoration. One disconnects you, the other reconnects you. And I want you to know, nothing is broken. When restoration returns, you feel and perform better because your natural responsiveness returns. That responsiveness is the core of the vitality that you want and you deserve. The opposite of sedation is stimulation, but restoration is where the real superpower is. So now is the time to make the decision. Are you going to stimulate and knock yourself out, or is it time to restore order to the system? That's what regulation is. And that's why I always say, regulate first, which is the name of my program. So if you are interested in help using advanced clinical grade technology, please go over to drtrishleigh.com, because now is the time to bring the system back into check. Your sleep will improve, your connectedness will improve, and you will feel stronger and more confident than ever. So start here. Please go over to Dr. Trish Leigh, the YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, I have improved the content. I'm trying to bring you educational content, motivational content, the whole shebang. So go over to Dr. Trish Leigh YouTube, check out the new slideshows that I've included, state-of-the-art slides showing you the scientific mechanisms behind the hijack, the miswire and the rewire. Go check it out. And I want you to remember always, control your brain or it will control you. I'll see you next time.